Good evening. My name is Carmen Leslie Rourke. It is an honor to be the president of the Trinity Club of Hartford. Thank you for joining us this evening. Today's program will be hosted by our chair, Matt Smith. Matt has a long history with the college. His father graduated from Trinity. His mother received her master's. He has a number of siblings and cousins that attended Trinity as well. And he met his wife, Ellen Carpenter Smith, at Trinity. Their daughter also graduated from Trinity as well, Diana Rose. Matt will now begin our programming. Thank you.
Thanks, Carmen. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Our talk will be followed by a question-answer session, so please type your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. The Trinity Club of Hartford Speaker Series is dedicated to informing and educating members of the Trinity College community about issues central to Trinity's vitality. The object of the series is to provide an honest view and of an issue from an informed perspective. Tonight, we'll discuss the augmentation of a Trinity liberal arts education with the innovative mindset and skill set of entrepreneurship. 21st century society is increasingly driven by advances in technology that fuel change, and more change. The possibility of working for one company during a career has dropped to practically zero, and the possibility of working in one profession has declined significantly in the last 10 years. As technology and innovation evolves, the economy's demand for skilled professionals is projects that 1/3 of the positions that today's Trinity students will hold in the next 10 years do not currently exist. This seems to indicate that today's Trinity students may have 2 to 3 careers during their working life. This would require dynamic skills and ways of thinking in order to adapt and thrive. Danny Briere, the executive director of Trinity College's Entrepreneurship Center, is with us tonight to present how the center helps fulfill Trinity's mission to prepare its students to be bold, independent thinkers capable of leading transformative lives. By fostering an environment where students can learn design thinking and problem solving, Trinity's liberal arts students expand their learning with real-world experience through internships and mentoring. This propels their Trinity PLUS curriculum forward. With that introduction, I'd like to invite Danny to begin his presentation, and please type any questions into the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. Danny, an important part of Trinity's mission is to prepare students to be bold, independent thinkers who can lead transformative lives. How does the Center for Entrepreneurship advance this dynamic objective?
Well, that's a great question, Matt, and thanks for inviting me tonight. Very much looking forward to sharing sort of what we've been doing with the center, where we're going. I'm about little over a year into this. The college happened to catch me between startups. This technically is my first job. If you discount jobs that I had to take because I sold a company and had to work for the company for a little bit. So I'm learning a lot of things that a lot of people have been learning in their 20s and 30s. So it's a lot of fun. Anyway, I want to share some slides here that can talk about the journey we're on, what we've accomplished, where we're going. And so if you'll bear with me while I go ahead and turn on the screen sharing here. And Matt, if you'll confirm that we are.
Yes, I'm looking at, I've got full screen of Trinity Club of Hartford, November 2nd, 2023.
Excellent. You know, if you think back to when I was in college back in 1985, there were probably 250 entrepreneurship courses offered in higher education across the whole nation. By 2006, 2 decades later, that had grown to like 5,000. Many were offered initially in business schools and university programs focused on business. Today, we no longer count this anymore. Entrepreneurship courses are being offered throughout liberal arts programs all across the United States. Trinity's got a long history of enhancing its traditional liberal arts core with interdisciplinary and applied learning programs such as human rights, neuroscience, engineering. Entrepreneurship is really following in that tradition, and it's the most significant enhancement of the Trinity experience since those programs were introduced. When we look at sort of what I was handed and asked to do when I came on board, I had a really broad remit. The senior leadership had visited a number of schools, including Dartmouth, and said, wow, it's great to see these programs in action. We'd like one. But outside of that, I had a pretty broad ability to draw on my experience to craft what that might look like. I don't want to spend a long time talking about my experience, but I've started companies ever since I left. Started my first company out of business school back in '85, and I've been in run 3 Caribbean airlines, e-commerce, marketing management companies, consulting firms, a fairly broad range, medical devices of companies. But I've also helped do a lot of what's called ecosystem building. CT Next, if you're familiar with that, in the Hartford area, the quasi-public private entity. I actually started that back in like 2011 under Obama's Startup America partnership, and it morphed into the innovation ecosystem, which morphed into CT Next. I also helped launch the Connecticut Small Business Development Center in Connecticut, moved it to UConn from CCSU. And so I've got a lot of ecosystem building, a lot of startup experience, and I've actually run 2 centers on the UConn campus. And so I know what it's like to run a center on a college campus. So I sort of had an ability to go and draw on all this and go different ways. And so when we think about how we're interpreting, trying to bring an innovative and entrepreneurial mindset to campus, first and foremost, we're trying to embrace and elevate the liberal arts tradition, especially the new Trinity PLUS curriculum, which calls for a lot of co-curricular and experiential learning. We're looking at invention, innovation, and entrepreneurship, not just entrepreneurship. And we've actually lately been adding creativity to the mix to create like 4 pillars of our programming, where you're really helping students think outside the box and ideate and problem solve and do critical thinking and come up with innovative solutions and then figure out how I might take that to marketplace. We're going after all students, not just those who want to start company. You'll see a very strong focus here between first and second years and then third and fourth years. A lot of colleges and universities focus really on the third and fourth years in the graduate population and helping them just focus on launching companies. We're talking about building skills, building experiences, building mindsets, and you'll see that reflected in our programming. We're having an impact on Hartford and beyond. It's not just about what's happening on campus, but we've actually been tasked with talking to the city of Hartford, its corporations, profit and nonprofit, the city of Hartford itself, and thinking about how can we help move the needle regionally. We're going down all the way into K through 12 as well as up to alumni. I've been helping alumni connect them with resources. People have been calling me. I've got my company. I'm trying to go this next level. Do you know anybody here or there? And also, we've been partnering with the HMTCA and the Learning Corridor next door and successfully transitioned, or not transition is the wrong word, extended what we've been doing there into Hartford itself. And I'll talk about some neat things that we're doing there. And then more importantly, Trinity has a lot of great personal relationships that are driving this. You might have a faculty member that's got a great relationship with Hartford Healthcare and has built a program that's working great between them, or someone that's working with Eversource or Stanley Black & Decker or many of the other Hartford entities that are trying to move the needle for the region. Yet we don't really have a formal relationship between Trinity College and Hartford Healthcare, or Trinity College and Connecticut Children's, or Trinity College and Eversource. And so formalizing a lot of this type of corporate engagement and creating pre-built pathways how we can engage alumni and parents, as opposed to just, well, I know someone that knows someone, but actually, recruiting people, giving them tasks, giving them opportunities, telling them how they can help out. So you'll learn more about that here tonight as well. So a couple key themes that we've been following. One, you hear a lot about how Trinity blends liberal arts in an unique urban setting. Well, we're adding entrepreneurial street smarts to that mix. And so liberal arts with entrepreneurial street smarts in an urban setting, taking advantage of the assets all the way around there. And we think that's a pretty unique and even more unique value proposition than other ones that we've been seeing out there in the collegiate environment. We're also talk about building entrepreneurial leaders and innovators for any major or any industry. This is campus-wide. This is not something that is just for engineering majors or computer science majors or biomed or neuroscience or whatever. It's truly we're trying to engage everybody on campus, because who shouldn't be an innovative and entrepreneurial thinker, right? They all should be. So therefore, we need to be everywhere on campus. One of the things that we're trying to help move the needle in elevating Trinity in the community and in our industry is trying to come up with a theme that makes Trinity stand out. And one thing that we're working with admissions to try to live up to is that you come to Trinity to be more successful sooner. And I'll explain in a little bit how we're trying to do that. But the idea is that we're building skills and pathways from the moment the students set foot on campus, and trying to excite them towards their interests and their passions, but giving them the tools and opportunities to be able to put stuff on their resume to make them more competitive sooner in the broader world of internships and hunting for jobs and trying to compete for awards and speaking slots and other things like that. And finally, we're going to be heavily driven around alumni-driven entrepreneurship and innovation. Well, what's that mean? Well, if you go to a typical R1 a big research university, you find that a lot of the innovation and entrepreneurship happens in the graduate school. I mean, you've got students that are there that are much more mature. They've been through the undergraduate experience. They got another 5-6 years under their belt. They're working with professors that have done years of research in certain very fundamental areas. Very logical that you'd have a lot of venture creation that comes out of that. When we talk about alumni and partner engagement, we're going to use that to sort of what I call fill the PhD void. And if you think about a typical alumni that's been entrepreneurial or innovative in their life, they probably got to have a lot of really great ideas based on all their collective experience in partnering in that area. So if you've got someone that's been in banking for 40 years, they probably got some good ideas of what would be attractive to the banking industry. So we're building partner relationships and alumni relationships to bring these ideas in, put teams of students and partners and alumni together to try to turn these into something. And that starts to make it equivalent to what's happening at an R1 university. And so all these key themes are designed to help us really stand out, be unique, be more successful, and be more attractive to the students that are really trying to go and spend 4 years doing something pretty amazing. So I'm a startup guy. And if you have an idea, the first thing you do is you go and do a lot of research to figure out what everybody else is doing, because you don't want to launch something that someone else is already doing and already patented and already trademarked and everything else. So I did a competitive assessment across 36 different entities that admissions said we compete against, advancement says we compete against, that the various publications do ranking say that we compete against, ones that are in Connecticut, the general Connecticut region, and a couple other ones that people threw in for various reasons. And we went and we looked at over 40 different attributes of what constitutes an entrepreneurship and innovation focus. Do they have undergraduate degrees? Do they offer competitions? Do they have grants that they offer? Do they have alumni mentoring programs, a crowdfunding program? Do they have study away programs, immersion programs, etc.? I'll show you in the next slide a listing of the things that we were looking at. And we went through, and admittedly, this was I can't say it's a fully quantitative thing that would stand up to peer review, but we did a ranking of where we thought everybody was. And we started out, when I first got here, we said we were about a 2 based on the different resources. We have a minor, the Forge minor, we have got entrepreneurship courses, we've got various types of engagement that have been going on. So, but it wasn't a lot. When you looked at the ones that really stood out, while we really liked what Middlebury, Tufts, and Dartmouth are doing, UConn, of course, is the big behemoth in Hartford that we compete against in many different ways. What I liked about Middlebury is Middlebury does what other people do, but they always seem to twist it 90 degrees and do something just slightly different. Like, for instance, they've got an oratory class that teaches students how to become orators and really command an audience as opposed to just giving an elevator pitch. And so, everything is just sort of stepped up and a lot to learn from there. Tufts and Dartmouth, of course, very strong programs. And Dartmouth was one of the schools that the senior leadership of Trinity went to see, and we've been emulating a lot of things from them. And UConn, of course, they got 28,000 students, and so they've got a lot of mass, and there's a lot of interesting things going on there. So these four schools have sort of been a lot of our benchmarks, notwithstanding the fact that there are a lot of other great schools that are ranked in lots of different ways. So when you look at the engineering programs and coursework that we were comparing ourselves get, this is all very small print, but nonprofit management programs are actually one of the, and social types of programs are some of the largest populated things that most of the schools had. Lots of student clubs, low impact competitions like idea hackathons, entrepreneurship centers and maker spaces, internships, experiential learning tends to be in a lot of career centers, mentor programs, grants. These are the most popular ones. Some of the least popular ones tend to be like first year experience programs or living learning communities or technology immersion programs. And so I turned green all the ones that we've gone through and said it's within our remit and our focus and our plans to launch at Trinity. And you can see it's just about everything. Well, what's not there? Well, this is a graduate entrepreneurship program degree. Well, we don't have a lot of those, and so that we just not run really on our radar. But just about everything else, we have a plan to deploy this, and we have a 3-year plan that we put together. We're about halfway through that 3-year plan. So by the end of 2025, year 2025, we expect to have launched the bulk of these at least in a pilot stage. Last year, we launched a lot of things in a pilot stage. This year, we're expanding, and version 3.0 is next year. And so we're making a ton of progress. We started with $1 million from alum Lou Shipley, who's a great entrepreneur in his own right. We launched in 2022. I arrived in August and immediately started just doing stuff. We have a whopping 400 square foot seminar space in MECC that students are regularly stopping by and collaborating with. Half of it is a conference room configuration. The other half is a lounge. But since we started the center, we've engaged with more than 400 students through all sorts of different programs. This year, we launched an Orientation Next program, which was a 4-day introductory program for first years. We had 46 students in that. We did wonderful things like have them try to invent new products, giving some prompts that we gave them and having them come up with some prompts on their own. I really enjoyed one set of young women that came up with a new way to do earrings. They said that they hurt their earrings by taking their earrings in and out all the time. So they wanted to have a permanently mounted home piece that's in the ear, and then they would either screw on or magnetically attach the different pieces, and that way make their ears be able to be more structured. It sounds like a great idea for a great problem. I don't wear earrings, but I mean, it sounds perfectly reasonable to me. So we also went on trips to the New England Air Museum and went to Six Flags. We actually had the trip to Six Flags, which was preceded by an evening session with popcorn and drinks, and the kids could listen to the CEO founder of a ride engineering company that designed rides for Disney and for Universal, talking about all the different things they have to take into consideration when they design rides. And so when the students went to Six Flags the next day, they could see it all in action and say, oh, now I know why they're doing that. So we also launched the first living learning community at Trinity around innovation. It's called Innovate. We had 44 students that are living on the second floor of Jones that are going through a combined program with the Innovation Fellowship, which we also launched this year, which I'll explain in a second. We got 92 students that signed up for that, about 20 that are very active. You might say, wow, 72 fall off, what's going on there? And we had a lot of conflicts with with the lacrosse team that has a winter season, a fall season, and other types of courses and things like that. So we've got to do a better job of scheduling next year. We've got 65 students that took part in our idea hackathon, which we held 2 weeks ago. The winning idea was a student who came up with a new type of approach to educating students of all the different events that are happening on campus at any particular time. And students love that idea. We've got 150 students registered in the Entrepreneurship Club, which about 35 or 40 show up at each Tuesday night's class. 185 students registered in the Student Investment Club, of which 100 are really active. We've got Tech Edge participants, alumni mentors, faculty and staff engaged. We've got various associated classes that we've been helping sponsor and launch, off-campus visits and field trips. We launched every year. We want to have a new conference on some hot tech topic. Last year it was AI, and we had 135 attendees show up at the Downtown Innovation Hub. This year we're thinking about hydrogen as a possible topic. We launched 2 experiential certificates. Certificates are a new thing at Trinity. Students have to have internship, J-term, and regular coursework activities. So they get a certificate if they do certain things, and it goes on their transcript. It's almost like graduating with honors. You're graduating with innovation or entrepreneurship. We've launched new events, and so lots going on in this first year. And we are now in version 2.0 of some of these, and that's very exciting. Our marquee entry-level program that really starts with orientation is called the Innovation Fellows Program. And the Innovation Fellows Program is a 2-year program. There's no credit in this. The students get an innovation and an entrepreneurship certificate out of this. Students go through all sorts of different activities in the fall. Generally, they have some sort of innovation or entrepreneurship semester-long activity. In this year, we're doing the Summit Innovation Challenge, which is based on the Connecticut Invention Convention, which a lot of you in the Hartford area probably know about. It's a K-12 program that teaches students how to invent things. We have J-terms around design thinking for innovation and lean startup methodologies for entrepreneurship, and spring activities like Startup Weekend. And each summer, we're going to have an internship experience crafted around this, and wrapping into this field trips and networking and speakers that are dropping in and mentoring and other activities. So the Innovation Fellows Program is designed to build those skills that corporations say that they want to see in their students when they're hiring them, but do it early. In the past, Trinity has said, we give these students these skills over their 4 years. We're going to give it to them over their 2 years. And when I talked about accelerating students and making them more successful sooner, if we can give them 4 years of skills building in 2 years, so they can then use those when they're applying for jobs and meeting people and networking and doing all these other things, they're going to get better internships, so they get better internships the next year, so they get great job offers the following year. So I mentioned about our living learning community. We actually had 66 students that wanted to be in that, and so we were turning away students. The Orientation Next program, we had, like I said, around 44, 45, around 50 students in there. And we talked a little bit about that, so I'm not going to go into more detail there. You'll see that we are launching more brands here, and these are brands that will carry Trinity branding. But I want to focus on the bottom right-hand corner. We actually have 4 logos like this: Trinity Creativity, Trinity Invention, Trinity Innovation, and Trinity Entrepreneurship. And when I partner now with departments and we create a course that fits into one of these areas, we want them to use this, so that we've got now a brand that threads across campus, so we can say, these are our innovation efforts, these are our invention efforts, these are our entrepreneurship efforts. And so people can have the chemistry logo on one side of their breast, and on the other side, they can have the Trinity Innovation to link those thoughts together. We're having a lot of success in partnering with faculty. We're expanding coursework. This semester, we're launching 3 courses, 1 in engineering, 1 in comp sci, and actually 1 in theater and dance. I'm really excited about the theater and dance. They had a class called Voice, which was all geared teaching students how to get up on a stage and project and own an audience. Well, that's a great skill set for anybody to have. But what happens if you're on CNN and you need to know about sound bites, or if you're going to give a TED talk, or if you're going to do an elevator pitch, or there are all sorts of different scenarios that you can imagine that people have to do over their lifetime that involves projecting and owning that audience. And so we're expanding that with the theater department, to go ahead and be able to teach these core skills, again, helping students be more effective at communicating early in their career. That course is actually geared towards first years, because if you can learn those types of skills really early on, it's going to help you in so many ways down the road. We talked about adding certificates. One of the nice things that we've done is we're actually, and I mentioned about formalizing alumni and partner and corporate relationships. One of the things that we're doing is we've created a new approach to senior projects. And most majors at Trinity have a capstone capability. A lot of the students partner, come up with ideas. Few of them partner with outside corporations on real world problems. So we wanted to try to change this equation. So we've been approaching alumni, getting them to sponsor senior project teams. And we put in place a process and a program and a legal infrastructure. So now that instead of every single department, every single student having to negotiate NDAs and contracts and things like that, we have now one IP agreement for the school that everybody opts into. And we added to that a $5,000 fee. So the corporations are giving a $5,000 fee that now goes to the faculty member that is overseeing this, not for salary, but to use for departmental expenses. So taking something that was seen as, oh my God, I can't believe I have to do this, into something that is more fun, more real world, and bringing revenues in. We've created something called the Professor of Practice, which is a sponsored role where I am now going and funding faculty positions around campus. A Professor of Practice spends half their time teaching courses, and they're courses that are friendly to the Entrepreneurship Center, ones that we design, and the other half of the time, they're helping do things like do the sponsored senior project programs, or help with field trips, or other things like that. And so we're able to go and grow the faculty on campus using the resources that we've got and introduce new topics. And so the other engaging thing that we've been doing about sponsoring adjunct professors is just being able to look at the breadth of the whole campus, right? I mean, we are talking to theater and dance. We are talking to art history, urban studies, environmental studies, right? We're finding ways to get traction in all these. And we're engaging with partners like the Makerspace facility in downtown Hartford. That's the largest makerspace in Connecticut. So I won't dwell on a lot of these. I could go on and on about a lot of things. We're taking the Tech Edge summer internship program and scaling that. We're launching different types of events. We are taking students off campus and going into Boston and New York and New Haven and other places. And we're just working through our 3-year plan. So this year, there's a lot of focus on adding some staff. Up until July, I've been pretty much doing all this myself. We've now got 2 people that are helping me, and they're running around with a lot of tasks to do every day. We're securing funding for J-Terms, Tech Edge, field trips, building more partnerships. We're launching something called the Venture Capital Pathway. We've got a very successful student investment fund for students that are interested in going to Wall Street. And students go through all sorts of learning and internships, and they can actually are investing the endowment, $750,000 from the endowment. We're going to launch a car to that program that looks at private equity to complement that public equity focus. The private equity is going to start teaching students how to do deal assessment and introduce them to more private equity, venture capital, and other types of private endeavors. So, we're seeing a lot of these things I've talked about. We're going to start launching our first incubator accelerator programs. That's what most schools have, incubator and accelerator programs. We're going to have that too, okay? But look at everything we're doing to lead in and to build a funnel and get people excited and knowledgeable to lead into those later stage programs. And one of the things I had to do, it sounds sort of boring, but I had to overhaul the IP policy on campus. The IP policy on campus basically says if a student invents something on campus, the college owns it. So that's sort of a deal breaker, right? That doesn't work. And so in any event, we've got we use Dartmouth's IP policy as a baseline, and we've been updating that, working with Deke in Chief Counsel's office and working with other people. So that's all yielding fruit. We've also adopted several student clubs on campus, and we're launching other ones. I'm really excited about the Real Estate Management Club. A lot of students are really interested in real estate management. And so we're working with urban studies and with the art history department, because a lot of art history department has a lot of the architecture, and students are actually taking art history because they're interested in real estate management. So lots of engagement there. In year 3, next year, we'll be turning our focus to the Innovation Hub downtown. I own that under my remit. We haven't done much with that. We've been a little busy. We'll be launching a summer incubator accelerator program, extensions of our programs to help build more women founders, more underrepresented founders. Although I gotta tell you, 70% of our entrepreneurship core comes from underrepresented populations. And so, I mean, the Entrepreneurship Club. And so we have very, very strong numbers already in these areas. We'll be launching an investment fellowship to complement our innovation fellowship to really bring a much stronger presence to that pathway, but earlier success for those who want to go to Wall Street or Sand Hill Road. We'll be adopting campus businesses. Underground Cafe, we've been approached by the administration, would love us to sort of come in and sprinkle some pixie dust on that because it's losing money every year. And so we'll be adopting that and making it cash flow positive. We're launching a student management consultancy called Trinity Summit Partners, which we are already working on this year, where students will actually be doing consulting work for startups and for Hartford corporations, a student marketing firm, and of course, what I mentioned before about alumni sponsored and ideas and turning those into startups, crowdfunding platform, a technical mentoring platform, study away programs, more programming with Hartford. These are all working through that list of all those things on the green page. So getting towards the end here, ways that alumni are being involved today. They're coming in as speakers, they're mentoring, they're helping us, the center, with strategic planning by serving on steering committees and helping us figure some of this stuff out. They're networking with others, and they're joining what we're launching is our entrepreneurship core, and they're sponsored projects and companies and internship opportunities with students and ad hoc advice, all sorts of ways that they're growing with us. So in any case, we've launched our new web presence and at trincall.edu/entrepreneurship, and that's about it. I would encourage you to go to the trincall./entrepreneurship website. We have a new video that we just posted there that is able to show you what is going on in this, and sort of a video version of everything that I've been talking about here. So in any case, that's what I've got, Matt, to try to answer your question in the beginning. So hopefully throughout this that we're building fairly extensive, innovative, and entrepreneurial mindsets across the community. My goal is to impact at least half the students in the midterm that are on campus at any particular time. We're at 400 now, so that's getting that up to the 1,000 to 1,200 student range, which I think is eminently possible here. So, I mean, ultimately, I would love to see, we've at some point every student at Trinity is being impacted and geared in some sort of innovative and entrepreneurial way in the future.
Wow. Yes, Danny, that is it's an amazing effort that has gone forward in such a relatively short period of time. And just kind of following up on the last point you made, Tony Luciano asks, how is the best way for a Trinity alum who wants to support the effort here what's the best way for them to get involved?
Send me an email. Danny.Briere@trincall.edu. Love to hear from you. Everybody's have got their own personal passions, their own background, their own different things that they're interested in. We will probably have over 100 different engagement opportunities this year as judges and mentors, etc. And so some people that are local, you're able to come on campus more, and that students love to have that personal interaction more so than the Zoom interaction. So love to hear from you.
Okay. Oh, fabulous. And then kind of playing off that, we have an attendee who asked, do you have a network of Trinity alum who support young Trinity entrepreneurs with angel investment or venture capital intros?
That's an excellent question, and that's precisely the goal of the venture capital pathway. So tell you about what we're doing there, because I'm really excited about this, because it's really cool. last year, as we started to do our corporate outreach to the various corporations in Hartford area, one of the ones that we talked to is Connecticut Children's Medical Center, the local nonprofit hospital that focuses on pediatrics and young kids. And they were just spinning up an innovation team internally to deal with ideas that were coming internally from the hospital for new products and services, and also other people outside the hospital that were coming to them and saying, hey, we would love to partner with you and have you help us develop these things. They're very, very good at understanding the medical side of things, but the business side of things they didn't have any experience in. So we put together, we started out with 32 students and ended up being about 24 in the end. That created a deal team that would do assessment of their new ideas, would go through training. We created 7 stations, one around IP, market sizing, competition, evaluating a team, sales and distribution networks, and so on. And we would have alumni that would come and train the students. There were teams of 4, and each student would go through the station, and they would be trained by alumni. Like, we'd had a patent attorney that knew IP and would work through case studies with students. And we partnered with Connecticut Innovations, Connecticut Small Business Development Center, and some other entities. And the students were interviewing CEOs, getting trained by Connecticut Innovations, and getting all this experience, and then developing basically pitch decks or assessment decks that they then go and presented to the senior leadership of Connecticut Children's. And one of my favorite stories out of last year was that I always chuckle because we do run into UConn all over the place, and UConn has a lot more resources. And so anytime we can sort of catch them napping, it's awesome. So they had one startup that was out of the UConn Medical Center that had been going for 5 years. They'd built prototypes, they'd filed for patents, they'd invested well over $1 million in this. And what happened was our students went through and did this assessment. We said, great idea, great technology, great direction, but didn't you know someone's already got this in the marketplace? And so, and they're like, no, don't. And so they're like, 5 years in. And so it just goes to show you that you follow the right processes and you do the right things, you can really come up with some really wonderful outcomes. So when we're building on that, to say, okay, we train these students, now that we want them to be able to put it into action. So we partnered with the Connecticut Small Business Development Center, which does small business consulting for Main Street businesses as well as startups. And they would bring their startup CEOs to the team, and the teams would do various types of financial and other types of analysis with them. And so, and present types of feedback that they gave, like they gave to Connecticut Children's. And so these students were paid for this. So this is the starts of a revenue generating management consultancy on campus, where students getting real world experience, working with mentors in the alumni base and partners to go and do this sort of stuff, and delivering some value into the ecosystem at the same time. And so where that goes to is that students grow into this Trinity Summit Partners consulting firm that we're going to be building, and then they're going to be working with angel, and we're creating a Trinity Angel Investor Network. Lou Shipley is helping us put that together. As a matter of fact, a fledgling portion of that is actually making their first investment in a student today. They actually signed a safe note today for one of the student startups. And then also looking maybe to the endowment to allow us some funding to go and to invest in student and alumni startups. And so that's all building this whole venture capital ecosystem. We want to be partnering with venture capitalists. So if there are any venture capitalists on the phone here that would love to help us figure this out and partner with us, that's great. We'd love to hear from you. So yeah, I mean, it's a long-winded answer, Matt, there to the question, but we've got quite a plan here, and we think this is really, really distinctive. I mean, show me anybody else in any other college or university in America that's doing that, and I'm going to be surprised.
No, that sounds very impressive, Danny. Abe, just following up on that, Abe Bloom has asked, have we seen any Trinity students in the program start revenue generating startups?
Oh my gosh, I love this. I owe him $100. Great question. I'm working with several students that are doing amazing things. I've got one student who actually last year made almost $500,000 on just running his businesses on the side as a student. We got another student, Alex, who probably 3-4 years ago was going through TSA at the airport and forgot that he had in his pocket this Swiss Army knife that his parents had given him at a very young age to celebrate a big thing in his life, and he had to lose it, and he was really upset. He told his parents, I've got to do something about this. It shouldn't be the case. And so he created a company called Flip It. And Flip It is now in deployment in airports, growing number of airports across the U.S. It's a brain dead, simple, easy way basically to mail your item back to yourself. So the TSA agent takes the item, puts in a UPS type packet, seals it, pulls off a QR code, hands it to the person goes through security. Some point after security, they scan the QR code, put in the address, and and just apply their phone's e-commerce, Apple Pay or whatever to that. 30 seconds, they've said where they want it sent. Someone comes in, picks up the package once a day, slaps a mailing label on it, ships it out. Everybody's happy. So they got this great, you may say, well, geez, haven't people figured this out by now? They got this great example of a video that just came in from someone that recorded it. They were so happy. It was from an auctioneer who was going through the TSA, and the auctioneer had his gavel with him. And they said, you can't take the gavel on the airplane. It's a weapon. He's like, it's a gavel. It's a weapon. So, this gavel had been given to him by his mentor, is no longer alive, all this stuff. And so they were able to take that, put it in a package, ship it back to him. And he was so grateful. And so it's a brain dead simple thing. It should be a $50 million business within a couple of years. And very excited about everything about that. Another company started by a student named Brooks is called Recruit You. Recruit You is all about trying to build direct relationships between those industries that are hiring the most highly valued students for internships and jobs, and building direct connections with them. Right now, you go through these big monolithic programs like LinkedIn or Handshake or other things like that, where there are thousands of kids in here. He came up with a model where he offered a value proposition to the college student clubs, like the student investment fund, to keep all their information online so that Wall Street can directly communicate with those students. And it's taking off. He's still in beta. He's got 3,500 students that are using the platform. Students are already getting internships and interviews through the platform. They've been pitching everybody from Jeffries to, I could go through a whole list. And so I think that's going to be insanely successful. And so we've got all sorts of examples of students that are doing different things. They are revenue generating. Alex's company is generating revenues. What I really liked about that, they deployed their first deployment behind TSA was in Greenville, South Carolina, the Greenville Spartanburg Airport. And they installed everything on a Thursday. And they said, we'll come back next week. We'll train you how to use it. Well, that Friday, someone came in and bitched up a storm and said, you can't take my thing away. They're like, well, we got this thing they just put in yesterday. They just started using it and started generating revenue, and it all started working. And they still haven't gone down there to train them. And so they're just using it. They're in negotiations with Reagan, with Dulles, with Denver. And, it's going quite well.
So it's not starting in a garage, it's starting in an airport, huh?
Well, in their case, that idea was generated in a garage, but it's become a real family affair. It's really cool because students are students. They've only got so much time, so you see them working with their parents and their family friends, and it's really sort of a great thing that they all can rally around.
Wow, no, that's amazing. And just for everyone's benefit, attendees, in the chat is Danny's email address. So Urel, thank you for adding that. So again, in contact, as Danny said, send me an email. The email address is in the chat. just along those lines, other questions that are coming up as a follow-up to what you were talking about as far as angel investing. There's questions regarding the size of the fund for this program, as well as largest check size that Trinity alumni founders could receive from the program. What would be the extent of the resources provided to the alumni founders?
Well, so these are all programs in development. So I don't know the answer to that yet. Okay. But the idea is that we want to create a win-win-win-win-win situation here where faculty and the college and the students and the alumni and partners and so are all playing a role in getting something. And so, it's hard to say what size of a check is, but any entrepreneur worth their salt has got a dozen heads and ideas in their head that they know they're never going to get to, right? And we're so just taking one of those, work with Trinity to help try to see if we can't make a company out of it and get a piece of the action and have fun at the same time. I know I've got a bunch. I've been giving students some of mine. We got one student is launching an idea that I had, and it's really fulfilling to watch. And I've been wanting to do it for a long time, and I just don't have time to do it. So in any event, we're going to try to flesh a lot of these out in the spring of this year. If you've got ideas how you'd like to see it work, reach out to us. I don't have all the answers here. I've certainly got a lot of direction, a lot of plan. We have a lot of things that are underway. But I certainly would like to make sure that we hear from you too.
Well, wonderful. Thanks, Danny. Jennifer Hall asked a question about, is excited to talk to you about the assessment of an entrepreneurial mindset. She's had experience with this and is just kind of interested in understanding when it comes to thinking like an entrepreneur, how do you have to think, or what's your different headset?
Yeah. So I get a lot of emails every day. I will be honest with you, and so I believe Jennifer's dropped one to me in the past week, and to me and Lou, and I think she's got a terrific program, and we're going to be looking at how we might be able to work with her down those lines. So I've got a lot of experience in K through 12. For 25 years, I've been on the board of the Connecticut Invention Convention. I've launched a global K through 12 program. I've partnered with school districts all over the world, and our educators in K through 12 do a masterful job of everything every day. But the programs that they're working within often are designed around standards and trying to teach students, here's how you solve a problem. And they take them through a process, get to a known answer. It's very closed, a closed system type of problem solving that we're teaching the students. And so there's all these great famous studies about how if there's one that says if you ask a kindergartner how to draw a bird, and they draw this real fanciful type of bird, and if you start showing them a bird that's just the little sort of two humps and everything else, and then ask them to draw a bird, they draw the two humps. So we have this great way of sort of training creativity out of kids as they go through K through 12. So when they show up at Trinity, believe it or not, one of the biggest problems that I have with students in Trinity is with creativity, because they've grown up for 13 years in a world where they've been shown how to solve problems and been tested on coming up with the known answers. Invention, innovation, entrepreneurship, these are all open-ended problem solving. There's no necessarily right answer. And one of the things that we did in our Innovation Next program this summer, Orientation Next program that we did this summer, was we asked the students all to solve one problem. And so the first day we gave them the problem of how to help pet owners prevent themselves from running over their pets in their driveway. It's a big problem. People run over their pets. It's an emotional thing. It's happened in my family. It's happened in a lot of people that we've known. And so we posed the students, how could you solve this problem? And they came up with, there were 6 different groups of 6 or 7, and they came, maybe in 7 groups, that they all presented different ways and different solutions of doing that. And the point of this wasn't necessarily to say who had the best idea, but to point out that there are different ways to approach this. And just because someone's got a solution in the marketplace doesn't mean that you can't come up with one that's different and it appeals to some people in a slightly different way. Some people are more high tech than others. Some people want to have things done for them, and other people are willing to be more DIY. And so there's different ways to approach this. And so creating an innovative mindset and an entrepreneurial mindset is really getting students to be able to do critical thinking, creative problem solving. A lot of things that we say that we will deliver the mindset to students over that 4-year period. We're trying to move it forward. And Jennifer's absolutely right. There are ways you can sort of measure this, and I'd love to work to try to do a pre-post type of thing. Measure students when they set foot on campus, and then measure students when they're leaving campus or something, and be able to say, look at that delta, right? This is good evidence of that impact.
Well, that's fabulous. Michael Gilman asks, do you know of the International Association of Students in Economics and Management? He goes back a little ways to 76, but they had a great chapter at Trinity at that time. Are you familiar with the organization? And
I am not, but I'm always willing to learn new ones. And so I'm writing it down here. International Association of
Students in Economics and Management. And just so folks are aware, I did thank you to one of the attendees who said the chat is not visible where Danny's email is. I did copy and paste it, and I've been replying to a few people asking questions with that email. So, and in fact, Danny, your email would be just simply Danny, DANNY .Briere. And if you could just give us the spelling that way.
Briere.
Okay, Briere
at trinity.edu.
And the standard Trinity or TrinCol edu email
Right.
finish. Okay, wonderful. I do want to make sure people get that out, since I thought it was available in chat, but not. Another question that we have refers to ideas. You've had so many different types of businesses, and obviously you brought that to bear in creating the Entrepreneurship Center. Where do these different ideas come from?
Oh, this is a great thing. And the funny thing is, we start teaching this in pre-K. Okay, I actually have been. This ideation stage is really a lot of fun. But this exact question, what you see is students have an aha moment. Okay, it's difficult. Aha! Oh, I see it. Oh, I see it. Oh, I see it. Right? You're getting them to change the lens of the way they view the world. And what you're basically getting them to say is, what bothers you? What problems do you run into? What things do you say, oh, I can't find this. I go on Amazon, it's not there, and Best Buy, it's not there, whatever. We're getting them to sort of look at these things as opportunities, as like, oh, you know what? I want it. It's not there. Are there other people that want this? That's how this all starts. And so, we ran over our dog in the driveway. Gosh, I wish I could have prevented that. Oh, there's nothing out there in the marketplace to prevent that except a rear camera, which is not designed to be able to pick up a pet that's sleeping underneath the tire, right? So, it comes from your life experience. And now, notwithstanding, when you posed this question to the Entrepreneurship Club last year to come up with an idea, their favorite idea was a Sunday morning hangover cure. Which, of course, if you're a student in college, a Sunday morning hangover cure sounds like a great idea. But we walked through that and said, well, okay, how big a marketplace is this? And do people need cures on Saturday and Sunday? And we went through the whole thing. But the point here is that students often invent from their life experiences, but they're not seeing that life experience through that lens of problem solving. Here's a problem, I can solve that. So a lot of what we're trying to do that first semester with the Invention Convention program that we call the Summit Innovation Program is we get the students to work on an idea that they want to work on. And then we help them work it all the way through to a prototype stage. So they see that they started with a problem, came up with a solution, and pitched the solution and got feedback on the solution and said, you know what? I did that. I've got confidence that I can do this. Now, next time I run into a problem, I'm going to try to solve it. And so it's that change of mindset, that aha moment that we're trying to teach the kids, and pretty much in the first semester very heavily.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then when you say the first semester, is that the point of entry into the program for a student?
It is now. The point of entry is our first step in is when students sign up for the Orientation Next program, which is the preschool orientation period. We've actually been toying with the idea of running some summer programs before kids come to school. And so right now, though, the Innovation Fellowship is our marquee on-ramp. And you've got a couple of pre-program on-ramps, but the Innovation Fellowship kicks off the third week in September. And we got 92 students interested in that with almost no marketing. We actually one email that went out this summer. And next year we'll have the wealth of marketing the whole summer. And one thing that these programs we think is going to help a lot in is admissions has this problem that they call melt. It's students that say they want to come to Trinity and then they melt away. And I think Matt said that we had like 45 or 50 students that melted the summer. These types of programs that engage students early and get them excited about different things, we think are going to be very, very strong in helping combat that melt problem. And so we have no problem extending some of this stuff earlier and possibly having some senior summer experiences. We are going to be running a summer camp this summer for the HMTCA students, where students will be coming on and doing the invention convention and some other things during the summer. And so Trinity would like to have more summer programs, because I think we're trying to look for an excuse to ultimately open up the dining halls during the summer, which will be a real big difference. And of course, adding air conditioning to the dorms on a very as we can afford to basis. And so I think we're not too far away from actually being able to have a real thriving campus during the summer.
And just along those lines, given the campus obviously in Hartford, who are the Hartford partners that your program has been working with?
Well, it's who they are today, but really who we want them to be, right? And so there are a lot of individual partners, people that are researchers, doctors, engineers, people at Jackson Labs, people in Stanley Black & Decker, Hartford Healthcare, Connecticut Children's, but we want them to be in Eversource and Raytheon and Collins and the Travelers and the Hartford. And we really want to be able to reach out to all these and have a track that here's additive manufacturing, here's engineering, here's insurance, here's fintech, here's whatever, right? And so that students that have certain areas can have partnerships and activities that they can do in those. So I actually have on my staff now a person who owns those corporate partnerships, and we met with Connecticut Children's and came up with a sort of a strategy for the next year to be working with them. And one of those, they proposed a new apprentice program for Trinity students. And so we will open up lots of these opportunities as we go on.
Well, fabulous. No, that sounds wonderful. I think just time for one last question. Joe Bell asked, is there a potential graduate program that could be built around this?
So the answer is yes. Trinity is launching various master's programs. I'm really not the best person to talk to about this, because that gets on the credit side of things, the faculty side of things, majors, minors, growth of the academic side. I'm a non-academic center. If I want to launch a course, I have to partner with the department to do that. All of my stuff is co-curricular. So if there's a graduate program, it would have to be typically it'd probably be in the engineering department or someplace like that, because typically if entrepreneurship isn't in a business school, it's in the engineering department. And so that would really be a question for the engineering department or other people like that to say, hey, are you interested in this type of thing? But I think you know, Trinity has been adding more masters and other types of programs in the past. But I want to be very clear here. I'm not the person to ask about the future and where that goes. But we can certainly support growth into that space because there are many graduate programs around entrepreneurship. There are PhDs in entrepreneurship and
Wow.
innovation and things like that. So it is certainly something that other people have done. Whether they'll have it at Trinity is, I think, outside my pay grade.
Okay, sure. Listen, Danny, thank you very much. Certainly, a Trinity liberal arts education with your program has a dimension that is very much at the heart of what students need to thrive and adapt in an ever-changing world. So this is wonderful. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk. For everyone else's benefit, this is the close of our 2023 speaker series. We'll be back in 2024 with more topics of interest like this. But Danny, just want to say thank you, and I will turn it over to Carmen.
Thank you, Matt. On behalf of the Trinity Club of Hartford, thank you for joining us this evening. We hope you will attend our programs in the future. Danny, thank you for your presentation. Matt, thank you for moderating. And everyone, good night.